I do want to remind you that the last Global Voices this semester will be Renee Pitts. She is a longtime friend of mine, kind of grew up with her. She is a Beeson graduate. She used to be a university minister on this campus. She was in student ministries for about 19 years, she and her husband. Now she's with Greater Europe Mission. And I asked her if she would to talk to us about some research that's come out of just this past year from the Bible Society in the UK that reports a dramatic increase in church attendance among Gen Z in the UK. With all the stats we give you in missions, they're rarely encouraging. And so I wanted you to be exposed to something that was just really encouraging. So please go to the QR code and sign up for that. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Daniel Salinas. He is professor at the Biblical Seminary of Columbia. He has an MA from Wheaton College, a PhD in historical theology from Trinity International University, where our own Dean Sweeney was a supervising professor for his dissertation. That's correct, right? Okay. So they go back a long time. There's a good relationship there. He is associate director of Mesa Scholars, a program of Mesa Global. He and his wife Ghana live in Utah at the moment. He travels back and forth to Columbia. I want to just say a couple words about Mesa Global. They used to be United World Mission. One of the reasons that I continue to I want to partner with them is I've had alumni work with them. We have 2 alumni at least right now that are working with them. And one of the things that they've raged about is, not rage is a bad word, raved. That's the word I was looking for, all right? They've raved about how they took care of them, all right? So they, yes, the strategy, they have a wide range of ministries, and the strategy is very important as well. But I love the fact that they have told me they took care of me as a person. That's really important to me. So I'd urge you to check them out. And another reason that I've continued to kind of want to have them here for Go Global is because of their emphasis on providing a means for people to go and train theologically. It's a massive need around the world. And so today I've made it clear to him, okay, you're not just teaching them, you're recruiting. Like you should feel at some point today like you're being recruited. All right. So with all that said, please welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Daniel Salinas. Oh, yep.
Well, good evening, or no, not evening, afternoon. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia, and I've been a missionary with the mission since 1992. A few of you have been born after that, but I'm going to talk about global theological partnerships, how partnering in global mission benefits everyone. And after my talk, we have a few minutes for questions. So I think the idea is that you use the microphone. Somebody will give you the microphone for the question, and see how much time we have. So we are facing 2 situations in theological education today that require our participation. The first one is that theological education institutions in the global south are growing in numbers, opening more programs, and starting in new places. And second, there is a surplus of graduates with theological and biblical degrees in the global north, competing for a limited number of openings every year. So my aim today is to present a proposal that will address both situations in a way that will benefit both sides, the global north and the global south. Among the challenges theological institutions in the global south experience is limited access to qualified faculty. And there are several explanations for this. One is that most local people with theological and biblical degrees find employment in the global north. For example, according to David Livermore, only 2 out of 10 Africans studying theology in the global north return to Africa. 2 out of 10. I remember when I was doing application for my program, my PhD, I asked Dr. Padilla, Rene Padilla, I asked him, well, I need a recommendation. Would you give me a recommendation for the scholarship? And his answer was, no, I won't give you a recommendation. I said, wow, that's interesting because he knows me very well. We were friends for a long time, but I found somebody else, and then I sent the application, and I was approved and all of that. But years later, when I asked, we had him over for supper, I asked him, what happened? You didn't give me a recommendation. He said, no, I am not giving any more recommendations. Everybody I have recommended didn't come back to Latin America. And so that's what was the reason. Nothing to do with me, but his experience. So that happens also in Latin America. So it is hard for the seminaries in the global south to compete with the wages and benefits institutions in the global north offer to faculty. And there is a push in seminaries and institutions in the global north to have those minority professors. So sometimes those entice them to come and stay here. Second, there is a growing anti-Western sentiment in many countries that makes it popular for Western scholars to serve in the global south. There are still a strong feelings of colonization, difficult relationships between North and South, imperialism, and all of those make it difficult to cooperate. More specifically in missiology, the talk is about Americanization of the gospel and the church. And third, recently most traditional mission agencies have shifted to concentrating their efforts to the unreached, living theological education on the side. The current trend in many mission agencies is making it more difficult to raise funds for ministries like theological education. But MESA Global is one of the mission agencies that still consider theological education strategic. And MESA Global has a specific program called MESA Scholars that is working to help institutions in the global south connect with qualified faculty from the global north. I want to quote what John Bernard, the president of the MESA Global, wrote about MESA Scholars. He says, our program is built on the assumption that contextualized theological education is critical for the church everywhere, but especially in the global south, in the light of the growth of the church over the last 100 years. The enterprise assumes that North American Christians still have an appropriate and important role in the world, particularly in the area of leadership formation and theological education. And finally, MESA Scholars builds on the assumption that global partnership is an imperative of the global church, and that partnerships that strengthen local institutions and leadership are highly strategic as they seek to build local capacity and sustainability. We have deep respect for our brothers and sisters who are serving in churches and institutions around the world. And we seek to roll up our sleeves, come alongside and serve in ways that strengthen the church as it fulfills its identity and purposes in mission. So I want to highlight some of the things that John Bernard mentions here. First, the crucial need for contextualized theological education. Contextualization is something that we in Latin America have been working on for a long time. Even as early as 1929, Mexican professor Gonzalo Báez Camargo invited the emerging evangelical leaders to Latinize the gospel, to make the message touch the realities of our Latin American people. And that's a key element in how Mesa scholars approach theological education. It needs to be contextual, avoiding imperialism, foreign imposition, but maintaining an open dialogue among the global evangelical community. Mesa scholars want to recognize the local needs, the local culture, in the process of bearing candidates for faculty in the Global South. The time of exporting agendas and programs without any consideration of the indigenous capacities is over. Mesa Global and Mesa Scholars emphasizes that in the 21st century, missionaries must go as learners, as collaborators side by side with the local believers, under native leadership and supervision. No more the idea that the West knows best. And I don't know if you have found that idea in missiology, but that was the main idea for many years. The second concept that I want to emphasize from John Bernard's quote is partnership. Partnership in our globalized world is a must, is something that we need to do. Real partnership is the best when it strengthens local institutions and leadership and benefit both sides equally. In this kind of partnership, both voices are heard. No one side receives or gives more than the other, and any side can terminate the partnership anytime. In this kind of partnership, there is a high collaboration between the parts. There is no room for paternalism or simply considering one side better than the other. Do I need to define paternalism, or you are familiar with that concept? You know the concept, okay. Well, paternalism is the idea that we are the ones who have call of the truth, and that people need the truth that we have. We don't have anything to learn from them. We are just teaching them and taking to them the truth that we have. That's what they need. So that's the definition of paternalism. So there is no room for paternalism in any of these kind of partnerships. This is a Christian partnership between two sides which are committed to the values of the kingdom of God, a partnership that brings glory to God and serves the church. As a North American professor teaching in the Global South said, I have learned so much and benefited most by coming to serve in this country. I have learned so much more than it was possible had I stayed in my country. So that was his explanation. So partnership is the second concept that is very important to consider. And the other concept that I want to talk about is that the theological education has as its ultimate goal to serve the local church. the church is the primary audience for theological education. If history teaches us anything, one of these lessons is that institutions that started within the church and later became estranged from their ecclesiastical roots lost relevance and even their Christian identity. We must be aware of the danger of turning theological education into an exclusively academic exercise, losing contact with the basis and severing the connection with the church. Academic excellence and pursuits are laudable only when they are put to the building up of the people of God. So these three concepts, contextualization, partnership, and serving the church, are what we can say the DNA of what Mesa Scholar tries to do as we partnership with institutions in the Global South. I want to quote Dr. David Baer, Mesa Scholars Director, who says, "At Mesa Scholars, we seek to place missional scholars on the faculties of select partner theological communities, anchored in partnership by displacement of highly trained personnel. We then scan for opportunities to enhance faculties as they pursue in concert the particular vocation of their theological community. None of this is simple, none of this is easy. We seek to break cycles of mediocrity in teaching and research. We strive to interrupt damaging patterns of poor vocational alignment that load missional scholars with burdens which break down their capacity to pursue the calling God has woven into their lives over long years of discernment and preparation. This is our calling, no higher or better than anyone else's but ours." So, as Dr. Parr says, I am recruiting you. I am encouraging you to think outside of the Birmingham bubble. The world is bigger, and the great opportunity that you have to prepare for ministry may be called by God to serve somewhere else in partnership with an institution outside of the United States. So I think that the Mesa Scholars has a proposal to address the two situations I mentioned at the beginning. The difficulty that institutions in the Global South have to for qualified faculty, and the surplus of qualified faculty in the Global North. So we need to partner to find a solution so that will benefit everyone. Any questions? Yes. Okay. 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 Wow. Yeah. Okay. The question is practical advice for somebody who might take my challenge, up my challenge. So there are so many things to say that let's start with the simple one. Get your passport and get out of here. Go visit the world. Go see the world. Everywhere. I mean, you can learn so much just by being in a different place. And I am surprised that this is something that I tell a lot of people because a lot of people are open for that and they like to travel and all of that. But I have met so many people afraid of just living their own state. They don't want to. They don't want to travel. They feel like that's not safe for them. But another one is if you are considering a PhD later in life, try institutions outside of the United States. I had one of my friends just finished his PhD in patristics in Australia. We have a couple of Colombians studying in Cambridge. I know there is a very good institution in the Middle East, in Lebanon, with a PhD in Middle Eastern studies and Old Testament backgrounds and all of those things. Try to see the world, learn that your PhD somewhere else with a different perspective, a different faculty, and maybe a different language sometimes. That will be helpful. I know friends that have earned also the PhD in South Africa. There are programs in Amsterdam. There are many programs that are opportunities, and it will be better if you are planning on or thinking about serving somewhere else in the world. Use those possibilities that are available everywhere. Sometimes we are very narrow in the possibilities, but the world is big and it's huge, and we have many options. There is a very good Presbyterian seminary in Brazil that has many years. I mean, it's been there for more than 100 years, and that has a very good PhD program in theology or New Testament, Old Testament, or whatever you want to study. So there are possibilities outside of here. And also start making international friends. Try to find whatever. If you like thinking about going to Africa, well, start making friends with your African friends, or learn more about their countries and learn about their families and Asians or Latin Americans. And there are, I guess, I don't know, are there any international students here? Where I know Peter from India. No, not enough. Okay. So it's just a possibility. Try international foods. Try Chinese or Vietnamese or whatever foods you have, and see. I know McDonald's is all over the world, but I think you can try something else. So I don't know. Maybe that's helpful, but start also reading about other countries and see what's going on. There's one there.
Yeah, thank you for your talk. I appreciate it. What is something from your experience in both Latin America and being in the United States, what's something that Christians or the church in North America can learn from the church in South America?
Oh my. Do we have any time? One of the surprises to me is when I talk about Colombia. I ate my first tortilla when I came to the States, and I was 31. You don't eat tortillas in Colombia? What do you eat there? And there is a lot of, I have found a lot of stereotypes about what kind of, I mean, they say, well, it's all the same. And I have that experience many times. It's all the same. I've been in all the countries except Nicaragua and another one in Central America that are, well, and the richness of the cultures is so big, and so get rid of your stereotypes. That's the first thing. And we still have those kind of missionaries that think that they can come to Latin America and teach Latin Americans how to start a church. And I tell them, well, last year, Colombians started more than 200 churches by their own initiative. Do you want to teach them how to start a church already? Why don't you go and see what they're doing? The idea of that I mentioned here, the idea of that we know best, they there need to know what we know, is still present. I had a person that told me, no, I am not willing to work under the supervision of a Colombian. I want to do my own thing. And that's still present. So if you want to learn, is open your ears and talk to them and learn with them. There are many things that you can learn from us. Be a learner. That would be the main thing. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I actually have a question. So it's kind of a two-parter. The first one is questions about those who maybe feel this call or attraction to the idea of being able to engage in theological education abroad, but maybe a PhD isn't part of their path. Maybe the culminative degree isn't part of their path. What types of opportunities do you see for those who maybe cap in an MDiv, maybe they get a Master's of Theology, but they're not necessarily going down the route of a PhD, for them to still engage and be able to teach the church, even if they're not, again, receiving a PhD somewhere?
Yeah, the opportunities are many. Most seminaries that I have visited the last 5 years, or in many places, they are in need of PhDs because they want to become recognized by the government. And when that process of, what's the name of that, recognition, they need, the government gives them a percentage of PhDs that they need to have in the faculty. And so they need PhDs from abroad to help them raise that percentage. They have already a few of them their own, but not enough to fulfill the quota that the government requires. And so they will be open to an MD or an MA in Bible or theology or biblical studies or anything to help with many other programs. But the requirement for a PhD is mostly because, like I say, the governments in different places require that. So but the opportunities are open everywhere. We not only have PhDs, we also have MDs of MAs teaching in many places. Yeah. Any other question? Yes. Okay, the difference that I've seen in my students going through the seminary, or how the seminary has helped them. That's what you say? Okay. Oh yeah, I was telling somebody that there was a study done in Paraguay by a Mennonite church saying that, and they found out that only 9% of the pastors serving in churches had any theological education, a formal theological education. Most of the pastors never had any theological education. And the conversations I had with the students after my classes or teaching them is that the seminary gives them a lot of knowledge, but sometimes the seminary needs to be more practical in how to deal with a financial situation, or a lot of the well, if you go to be a pastor, they have a lot of issues that come that they were not prepared for. So the seminary helps them in the biblical, theological, some ministry classes, but they feel that they need more practical or more practice. And the one I tell them is, well, that's what you need to learn in your service, doing it. Those kind of things, you cannot be prepared in a seminary for those kind of things. You know the tools the seminary gives you, and then you need to know how to use them when you go to your church. But the students realize that they are better prepared to be pastors or doing some ministry because they are going through seminary. So they really recognize the fact that they are using the best opportunity that they have right now.
Hey, I have a question. Can you think through your students with Mesa Scholars for a second and give us a brief story of one student that is particularly inspiring or you feel like is a good example for us, possibly?
You mean the ones that are getting ready to go as faculty?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, there are many. We have a family in Accra, in Ghana, and they've been there for about 10 years. And he has helped the seminary, or now is a university, going through the process that I was mentioning with the government, helping the seminary to fulfill all the requirements that the government was asking. Now they are a recognized university by the government in Ghana. It's a very positive progress for them, because when he went there, they only have a couple buildings, they only have a few things, and he was able to encourage the president and the leadership in the university now to be more prepared for the requirements that so it was a very positive development right now. We have a family, a lady that is finishing her PhD in history. She is doing somewhere in the south, in Texas, I don't remember exact. She's going to a seminary in Vietnam. And the seminary in Vietnam is very excited about the possibility of having her coming to be part of the faculty. And right now there are a couple of let's say minority. One is an African and the other one would be a Latin American, who are getting ready to go to their own countries. One Peru and the other one is in Tanzania, I think. And so we have a lot of encouraging experiences, placing faculty in many places, many of the seminaries. Last year there was a family going to the Philippines, and there is a professor in England talking right now to a seminary in South Africa, and they're going to partner with us. So we have a lot of things happening right now. Yeah, right now there are two Colombian families in the UK. One in Cambridge and the other one, I don't remember where, St. Andrews, I think. And they're finishing very soon, hopefully, their PhDs. One of them is going back to the seminary in Colombia, and the other one, they are looking at options in Guatemala, but they are returning as soon as they're done.
Hi. My question is based on your vast experience. What are some of the differences between a seminary in the global south versus a seminary in the global north? So I'm asking, in terms of, for example, the student body, like demographics or the design of the program. So I'm asking this question not because I want to jump ship. Beeson is a wonderful place. It's a perfect place. So I'm asking because I think this may give us a window to see what are some of the needs of the ministry in different geographic regions.
Oh yeah, the difference is huge. For example, a good library in the global south will probably be 10,000 volumes. Here, any professor has that. Yeah, that's that. And most libraries in the global south don't have a lot of the digital databases like Atlas or EBSCO and all those, because they cannot afford it. They have to pay for that. That's just one thing. The other thing, if you are a professor in a seminary in the global south, and like me, for example, my area is history and church history and Latin American theology, but they asked me to teach theology classes or introductory classes because you need to be available for whatever they need. You cannot just have the luxury of teaching your particular subject. No, you need to be open to anything that they need. Those seminaries, if you are there and you're an available body, yes, they put you to do a lot of things. And sometimes things that you don't think you are getting ready for, but you have to be flexible in that area. So that's another big thing. Most of the, like in my seminary, most of the students, the seminary is only on the side. They are working they already have a profession, psychology, medical, doctors, whatever, nurses, whatever they do. And many of them are already pastoring in the church. So doing seminary is not their main life. They are taking seminary classes because they feel they need it, but they are professionals working in different areas of life. So it's not the luxury of just taking a whole 5 years or so to be in college or university and seminary. Only a few can do it. That's another difference. And there is you have here a beautiful campus with many buildings and new buildings all the time and all that. A lot of administrative personnel, and most seminaries work with 1 or 2 people doing everything, and no campus, just renting or owning by a little house, and they try to finish everything there. So the differences are huge. When you leave this bubble, it's just amazing. I don't know if that answers your question. I can keep talking for a while, but I better give options to somebody else.
Thank you. Hi. I have a question. I love what you said, that church was a place for Christian education. And Christian education is not about information, it's about formation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we used to do. And now with the growth of online education, Christian education, what do you think about that? Here in US, we don't have any problem because we have a community that can help the student to form. But overseas, we don't have that. But we see the number is growing and more people would like to plug into the Western education, online education, and have their certificate. What do you think? What advice do you give us?
Well, online education, if it's done rightly, is a good source for many people. That's what I do. I teach online because I live in the US. But if it's done well, if it's done the right way, is of benefit for everybody. Because I know some of my students are in remote areas in Colombia with very limited access to internet, but they are very faithful in their studies, and they are serving a church already in those areas. But because they have the opportunity to take classes online, and they don't have to leave the area and move somewhere else to the seminary, they are really grateful that they have that opportunity. So if that gives opportunity for more people to be prepared in ministry, that's a possibility that we have now. Now, the idea of community is very important. I agree with you. The idea of community has to be part of it. So the seminary that I come from, the one in Colombia, they have a couple of ladies working all the time, trying to keep in touch with the students, trying to follow up with them to be sure that they are okay, that they are following the classes as they choose, and if a student has a problem, they are always available to talk to them and all that. So, like I say, it's not the same as in-person classes, but the online program is an opportunity for people that wouldn't be able to take any theological education any other way.
Okay. This is a bit of a selfish one, but also hopefully it's a nice kind of wrap up. So let's say there are some people here who are pursuing theological education. They get their degree. What logistically or practically happens when we reach out to MESA scholars? What does that institution actually do? Do they send people somewhere? Do they coordinate between scholar and institution? What does that look like?
Yeah, everything you need to go. That's the short answer. You go through the process of application and then interviews, and if you already have a place that you want to go, so they help you go, or if you are open to different places, they help you find the best place. And then we are all missionaries who raise our own support, so you need to go through the process of raising your own support, and then getting ready to live. And if you are single, well, it's an easier process. If you are married with family, well, they have to deal with all the other issues. But everything that the person that wants to go needs to move from here to there is what the mission agency does. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, thank you. Right. He will still be around a little bit if you want to ask him questions.